Ethan, your divorce papers have been delivered. Once you both sign, there's a 30-day waiting period before it's finalized. Ethan's face was a mask, dissecting every word his lawyer uttered. After a beat of silence, he finally asked, "So, the sooner we sign, the sooner that 30-day clock starts ticking." The lawyer, surprised by Ethan's urgency, confirmed. "That's correct, Ethan." Ethan muttered a thanks and ended the call. He strode to the agency's reception desk and retrieved the thick envelope. Flipping it open, the wall of dense legalese made his head throb, especially the words dissolution of marriage in stark bold at the top, which drew a humorless laugh from him. "Never thought he'd be here. Divorce. Ethan, I'm busy tonight." The voice, achingly familiar and still so goddamn captivating, drifted from behind him. But the chill in her tone, the sheer indifference, deepened the wry twist of his lips. Had she always been this? Concise with him? Or was it just now with him? "I'm busy tonight." The unspoken, "so I won't be home," hung in the air, a familiar, bitter ghost. She couldn't even be bothered to spell it out anymore. "Right. Anyway, I've got this release form here. Needs your signature." Ethan was already holding the divorce papers. He flipped through them, page by painstaking page, right there in front of her, stopping at the signature line designated for Scarlett Fisher. He was being blatant, almost daring her to see. One look, that's all it would take. Just one sideways glance at the header. But Ethan knew she wouldn't. She wouldn't even look, because, in her eyes, he'd never really been there to begin with. "Just a quick signature. Won't take long," he said, his voice carefully neutral. Ethan held out a pen, and just as he'd predicted, she took it, her mind clearly elsewhere, not a flicker of suspicion in her eyes. Still, Scarlett Fisher, ever the consummate professional, a star who scrutinized every contract, every press release, made to scan the document. But then, out of the corner of her eye, she spotted him. A figure striding towards them from across the lobby. And just like that, a vibrant light ignited in her gaze. Fine. She didn't read a word, just scribbled her name, dropped the pen and the papers on the counter as if they were on fire. Then, all long legs and radiant smile, she practically floated towards the approaching man. Ethan's expression remained impassive, a carefully constructed wall. Only when Scarlett looped her arm through Ryan Asher's, her touch light and possessive, did a flicker of raw pain cross his eyes, there and gone in an instant. "Ryan, darling, congratulations on the Golden Globe. You totally have to take me out tonight. I need some of that winner's luck to rub off on me. If you don't, I'll be seriously offended, you know?" Every syllable dripped with a playful charm he'd almost forgotten she possessed. So, she wasn't a woman of few words after all. So, she could still turn on the charm, be playful, even flirtatious. Just not with him. Never with him. Absolutely. "Hey, Ethan, you should join us." But before Ethan could even register the invitation, Scarlett cut in, her voice smooth as silk. "Oh, he's swamped with work. It'll just be us." They walked away, their figures receding, their laughter echoing faintly before disappearing altogether. A final, icy shard pierced Ethan's heart, and something inside him went numb. But at least she'd signed. That was something. 30 days. And then she'd be free. He and Scarlett had married in secret. For the sake of her skyrocketing career, their marriage was a closely guarded secret, known only to their parents. No one else. Not a soul. Not even Ryan Asher, the man who had always been her sun, her moon, her stars. Back then, Ethan was just a junior agent, green and hungry. She was a fresh face at the agency, brimming with talent and ambition. Ethan had fallen for her the moment he saw her. He'd pursued her for 3 long years, relentlessly, passionately, but she'd never given him the time of day. He hadn't been bitter, just resigned. He figured he just wasn't her type, not good enough for someone like her. Then, out of the blue, she'd said yes. Not just yes to a date, but yes to everything. She'd practically dragged him down to the county clerk's office. No wedding, no reception, not even a celebratory dinner. Just a piece of paper that declared them husband and wife. Her reason was plausible enough. She was an actress on the rise. A secret marriage was better for her image, for her career. Ethan, working in the industry, understood the logic, or told himself he did. The sheer, unexpected joy of it had overwhelmed any flicker of doubt. He thought fate had finally smiled on him. Later, the truth had hit him like a sucker punch. She'd lied. She'd always been in love with Ryan Asher. The day Ryan Asher had his fairy tale wedding, splashed across every entertainment blog and magazine, was the exact same day Scarlett had rushed Ethan to the courthouse. The reason? It didn't need to be spelled out. The pain had been excruciating, a constant throb in his chest. But God, he loved her. He'd clung to the hope, the desperate belief, that one day, somehow, he could make her love him back. 2 years. They'd lived a lie for 2 years. She never fell in love with him. They maintained the facade of a marriage, a hollow imitation of the real thing. Ethan had slowly descended into a quiet despair, resigning himself to this half-life. It wasn't a real marriage, but she was there, physically at least. He'd told himself it was enough. Being near her, even like this, was better than nothing. Then, last month, the news broke. Ryan Asher's wife had been caught cheating. They were getting divorced. And that's when Ethan understood just how catastrophically wrong he'd been about everything. From that day forward, Scarlett's gaze, previously distant or preoccupied, now held only one person, Ryan Asher. The light in her eyes, a light he hadn't seen in 2 long years, blazed back to life. A light reserved solely for Ryan. Watching Scarlett and Ryan disappear down the corridor, their laughter a fading echo, Ethan took a deep, ragged breath. A smile, surprisingly genuine, touched his lips. A smile of release. 1 more month. Then he'd be free of this sham marriage. And free of her. The woman who had never, not for a single moment, loved him back. Ethan drove home to an empty house. The silence of the condo, usually a refuge, now felt oppressive. His gaze swept over the space, dull and lifeless. Scarlett was probably out with Ryan right now, wasn't she? Laughing, drinking, celebrating his win. Maybe if the mood was right, they'd end up spending an unforgettable night together. The kind he'd only ever dreamed of with her. He could live with that. He had to. She'd never truly been his anyway. The divorce was inevitable. He was just accelerating the process. This way, at least, he could walk away with some shred of dignity intact. If she'd been the one to serve him papers, to demand he leave, that would have shattered him completely. Ethan started packing. If he was leaving, he was going to do it properly. A clean break. He didn't expect her back. But just after midnight, the sound of the front door opening startled him. Scarlett was home. She strolled in, a tired but genuine smile on her face, and then her eyes landed on Ethan, surrounded by boxes. What's all this? You reorganizing something? A jolt of panic shot through Ethan. He scrambled for an excuse. Just decluttering, getting rid of some old stuff. Scarlett just hummed an acknowledgement, didn't spare the boxes a second glance, and headed upstairs. If she just looked, just one curious peek, she would have seen they were his things. All his things. The few possessions he actually cherished. But then, there had never been much room for him in her world, had there? Still, Ethan stopped packing. He sank onto the couch, the energy draining out of him. With her home, it was awkward. He couldn't very well continue. Besides, she had an early call time tomorrow. He didn't want to disturb her. She probably wouldn't appreciate the noise, the disruption. He knew how she valued her sleep. He just settled on the couch, resigned to a sleepless night there, when Scarlett reappeared, now in silk pajamas. "Why are you sleeping out here?" she asked, a slight frown creasing her brow. The sofa? What was he doing? He always insisted on sleeping in their bed, always wanted to hold her, even when she subtly pulled away. Sometimes he'd plead, his voice soft in the darkness, until she'd relent with a sigh. "You're a light sleeper. Didn't want to wake you," Ethan mumbled, the lie tasting like ash in his mouth. Scarlett didn't question it, just nodded. "The couch can't be comfortable. Come to bed." Ethan didn't argue. He didn't want her suspecting anything. Not yet. Not in this last month. A quiet exit. That's all he wanted. But as soon as he settled into bed, a familiar warmth beside him, Scarlett shifted. Her hand, small and unexpectedly bold, drifted onto his chest. He drew a sharp breath, his body tensing. Gently, he removed her hand. It was the first time he'd ever pushed her away. Scarlett stilled, a flicker of confusion in her eyes in the dim light. She sensed something was off. "Are you mad at me? About tonight?" Ryan won that award, and I just wanted to celebrate with him. It wasn't anything more. It was an explanation. A rare offering from her. Almost unheard of. "No, just tired," Ethan said, his voice flat. Another excuse. Scarlett didn't press. Instead, she took his hand, the one that had pushed hers away, and guided it to her waist, snuggling closer. She found her usual comfortable spot, her head resting on his chest, and soon, her breathing evened out into sleep. Dawn crept through the blinds. Ethan hadn't slept a wink. He got up, moving stiffly, and went to the kitchen to make her breakfast, a ritual he performed even now. Scarlett, however, had slept soundly. She came down looking refreshed, and, as she ate the toast and fruit he'd prepared, she asked about her schedule for the day. As her agent, her husband in name only, but always her agent, Ethan meticulously ran through her appointments. "Got it. Oh, by the way, that release form I signed yesterday. What was that for exactly? I like to take a proper look. She was always meticulous about her work. It wasn't that she didn't trust Ethan. She just liked to be across every detail. Ethan's stomach clenched. He fought to keep his expression neutral. Just a standard appearance waiver. Nothing to worry about. Scarlett didn't pick up on his tension, but she was firm. Still, I like to see it, just so I know what I've agreed to. Ethan hesitated for a long moment. Then, with a sigh that felt like it came from the depths of his soul, he retrieved the divorce papers from his briefcase. He had no idea how she'd react. Anger, relief, indifference. As she took the thick document, her brow furrowed in mild confusion. Ethan's heart hammered against his ribs. And then, just as she was about to open it, Scarlett's phone buzzed on the counter. It was Ryan. Of course it was Ryan. Scarlett, hey, I need a huge favor. We're shooting a magazine cover, kind of last minute. And it's a couple's theme, so it might get a little cozy. You free? Ryan's voice, smooth and persuasive through the phone, cut through the morning quiet. Scarlett didn't hesitate. Her face lit up, all traces of the document in her hand forgotten. Absolutely. For you, Ryan? Anything. I'm on my way. Ethan opened his mouth, a protest, an excuse forming on his lips. He didn't want to see this. His wife, still legally his wife, getting cozy with another man. Even with the divorce papers signed by him and waiting for her, the thought was a fresh stab of pain. But Scarlett, already halfway to the door, called back. Ethan, you're coming too, right? I'll need you there. The photo studio was a hive of activity. Ryan, looking every bit the movie star in a sharp, modern suit, was already there. Scarlett emerged from wardrobe a few minutes later, breathtaking in a designer gown that clung to her curves. Together, they were dazzling. The perfect couple, like they were born to be in front of the camera, side by side. More chemistry. Get closer, you too, the photographer yelled, his voice booming. Ryan, arm around her waist. Pull her in. Show that protective, she's mine vibe. Think of her as the love of your life. Scarlett, darling, give me that look. Adoration, like he's the only man in the world. I want to see sparks fly between you. If you're not feeling it, lean in, get right up close. Almost kissing. Yes, that's it. The photographer barked directions, a relentless stream of them. And with each instruction, Scarlett and Ryan moved closer, their bodies brushing, their poses more intimate. There were moments they were plastered against each other, lips a hair's breadth apart, the air crackling with manufactured passion. Ethan watched, a bitter taste in his mouth. He saw the genuine joy sparkling in Scarlett's eyes, the faint, becoming blush on her cheeks. This wasn't just acting for her. She was happy, truly, undeniably happy. The shoot lasted 3 hours. For Scarlett and Ryan, the time probably flew by. For Ethan, each minute stretched into an agonizing eternity. It was just a job, he told himself. He shouldn't read into it. But the truth, the cold, hard truth was, Scarlett had always refused to do these kinds of shoots with other male celebrities. She'd built her brand on her talent, not on manufactured romance or racy photo spreads. She'd always said she wanted to be known for her acting, not for her looks or for drumming up tabloid rumors. And for years, she'd stuck to that. Impressively so. But for Ryan Asher, she broke all her rules. Willingly, eagerly even. That was the part that twisted the knife in Ethan's gut. But it didn't matter. Not anymore. The month would be over soon. She wouldn't be his problem any longer. Her beauty, her smiles, her exclusive attention, it would all belong to Ryan. After the shoot, Ethan drove Scarlett home in silence. The entire ride, she was glued to her phone, a delighted smile playing on her lips as she scrolled through the raw photos from the shoot with Ryan. Even back at their condo, she curled up on the sofa, completely absorbed, swiping through image after image. Ethan didn't disturb her. He went back to his packing. Whatever he could take, he would. What he couldn't, he'd leave for her. Whether she kept it or threw it out, that would be her decision. Except for the wedding photo. That couldn't stay, but he wouldn't take it with him either. He would destroy it. He lifted their framed wedding portrait from the wall. Glancing back, he saw Scarlett still lost in her own world, oblivious. Ethan carried the photo out to the small patio. He placed it on the concrete, picked up a hammer he'd retrieved from the garage, and brought it down. Again and again, until the glass shattered and the image of their smiling faces was a mangled ruin. Just as he was about to douse it with lighter fluid and set it ablaze, Scarlett noticed. "What are you doing?" She ran out, her face a mask of astonishment, staring at Ethan, then at the demolished photo, waiting for an explanation. "It was damaged. Figured I'd get rid of it," Ethan said, the excuse flimsy. It wasn't the photo that was broken, though. It was their marriage. No, that wasn't right. Their marriage had been broken from the start. He'd just been the one trying to patch it up, hold it together for all these years. Now, he couldn't hold on any longer. Naturally, it had shattered completely. Scarlett sensed something was very wrong. Her voice was uncertain, questioning. Damage? Ethan, what? What on earth are you really doing? Scarlett was a smart woman. Even if Ethan was trying to cover his tracks, she still sensed something was amiss. It had a crack. If I left it hanging, it would have fallen and broken eventually. And if I just tossed it in the trash like this, someone might see it, misunderstand, think you were married. So, smashing it, burning it. No one will ever find out. Ethan layered a second lie onto his first. A lie Scarlett couldn't easily refute. And as he expected, her icy glare softened, and she gave a small nod. Right, good. I've been meaning to take that thing down for ages anyway. It was an eyesore. A fresh pang of pain shot through Ethan. It wasn't the photo she found unsightly. It was her marriage to him. She just hadn't said it outright. And he believed, with a certainty that ached, that in a month, a new wedding photo would hang in its place. Hers and Ryan's. But then, Scarlett's next words threw him for a loop. We'll need to arrange for a new one to be taken. You can schedule it. He looked at Scarlett, completely baffled. A new one? Is there really any point? Scarlett looked equally puzzled. Isn't there? Ethan shook his head. I don't think so. No. The suspicion that had briefly subsided in Scarlett's mind now surged back, stronger than before. She frowned, her eyes fixed on Ethan. What do you mean by that? The wedding photo is ruined. Shouldn't we get a new one? She took a step closer to Ethan, then another, until she was standing right in front of him. Her eyes, bright and sharp as distant stars, bored into Ethan's increasingly flustered face. No, something's wrong. Ethan, are you hiding something from me? Her relentless questioning made Ethan's heart pound even harder. Was this it? Was he about to be found out? But just then her phone pinged. A new message flashed on the screen, breaking her intense gaze. Ethan saw the notification too. It was from her best friend, Chloe. Scarlett, free tonight? Ages since we all got together. Let's grab dinner, just as girls. P.S. Everyone's bringing their boyfriends. Isn't it about time you brought yours too? Winky face. Scarlett had kept her marriage a secret, but with her closest friends, it seemed she'd only managed to keep half the truth hidden. Ethan had heard her mention it before. Her friends were always trying to set her up with guys outside the industry, determined to get their celebrity sister out of her supposed single status. Overwhelmed, she'd eventually claimed to be secretly dating someone. Except, they'd been married for 2 years. Her friends had asked to meet this mysterious boyfriend countless times, but she'd always managed to put them off with one excuse or another. His official status to them and the world was merely her agent. They want to meet me? Ethan tried to sound casual, hoping to deflect from the near discovery of the divorce papers. He wasn't ready to tell Scarlett about the divorce. Not yet. Scarlett's brow furrowed, a flicker of hesitation in her eyes that stung Ethan more than he'd admit. It was like a knife, already lodged in his chest, being twisted deeper. No, the knife had always been there. This just plunged it further. Just kidding. Better they don't know. What if it leaks? Wouldn't be good. Ethan forced down the wave of pain, schooling his features into his usual accommodating expression, offering a gentle refusal, giving her an out. He didn't want to make her uncomfortable, didn't want to watch her squirm as she tried to come up with a reason to say no to him. It was easier if he took the initiative. Scarlett visibly relaxed, readily going along with his suggestion. Yeah, since you put that way. Maybe next time. Ethan didn't reply. A bitter, silent laugh echoed in his mind. There wouldn't be a next time. Soon, you won't have to hide anything anymore. Once the waiting period is over, you can proudly tell the whole world. Your boyfriend is Ryan Asher, not Ethan Miller. Scarlett went to her friends' get-together. Her group of girlfriends was clearly not happy that she'd shown up alone again. Seriously, Scarlett? How long are you going to keep him a secret? Yeah, you have to bring him out tonight, or we're officially breaking up with you. Under intense pressure from her friends, Scarlett forced a smile and reluctantly picked up her phone. She stared at Ethan's contact, her thumb hovering over the call button. But at the last second, she hesitated. Instead, she scrolled down, found Ryan Asher's number, and dialed. Before long, Ryan Asher walked into their private dining room. The moment her friends saw Ryan, they shrieked with excitement. None of them had ever imagined that the boyfriend Scarlett had kept hidden for years was the Ryan Asher. But a question nagged at them. Ryan had just gotten divorced, hadn't he? Could it be that Scarlett had been carrying a torch for him all this time, unrequited? Thinking this, her friends felt even happier for Scarlett, raising their glasses in a toast. They gushed about how true love always finds a way and how hard it must have been for her. By the way, Miss Fisher, your agent, Mr. Miller, is he going through a divorce? Just then, the boyfriend of one of her closest friends, a lawyer named Ben, suddenly spoke up. Divorce? What do you mean? Scarlett's heart lurched, a bad feeling washing over her. Ben, oblivious, explained why he'd brought it up. Mr. Miller hired our firm to draft his divorce agreement. The process has already started. Before I came, I had no idea the famous actress my girlfriend was talking about was you. Since you're such good friends, there's no need for the legal fee, of course. Her friend chimed in. I just found out too, Scarlett. Ben said Ethan is planning to walk away with nothing. You should talk to him, tell him not to be so rash. If it really goes to court, Ben can definitely help him. His firm is really good. Ben nodded eagerly. Exactly. I'm willing to help him. They chatted on, but Scarlett didn't hear a single word. Excuse me. She rushed out of the private room and immediately called Ethan. Ethan Miller, what is the meaning of this? You're getting a divorce? Ethan couldn't believe she'd found out. Something as huge as a divorce, and you didn't even tell me. If my friend's boyfriend wasn't your lawyer and hadn't brought it up tonight, I'd still be completely in the dark. I can't believe you want to divorce me and walk away with nothing. Scarlett yelled, her voice thick with emotion. Ethan didn't understand why she was reacting this way. Even if she knew, she should be happy, right? Why was she interrogating him? But Ethan calmly lied. It's not me. It's a friend of mine. You've misunderstood. Scarlett, naturally, wasn't so easily convinced, especially given Ethan's strange behavior lately. Scarlett, are you on the phone with Ethan? Ryan, noticing Scarlett had been gone for a while, had followed her out. His voice carried through the phone, reaching Ethan's ears. Just for a fleeting moment, Ethan had actually thought Scarlett didn't want to divorce him. An absurd idea had even flashed through his mind. Maybe I should try holding on a little longer. Perhaps she'll fall in love with me, accept me. But Ryan's voice shattered his fantasy. Because he knew Scarlett had gone to her friend's party. She hadn't invited him. She'd invited Ryan. That was the clearest answer. Scarlett hadn't expected Ryan to follow her out. She looked flustered, momentarily speechless. But just then, a calm laugh came from the other end of the line. It was a laugh, but it sounded so incredibly cold. You're busy. I won't interrupt your party. Goodbye. Physical trauma is the destruction of the body, a signal transmitted to the brain, forming a physiological sensation. Emotional trauma is catalyzed by feelings transmitted to the brain, forming a neurological reaction. Both hurt intensely, but physical trauma can be repaired, the pain permanently eliminated. Emotional trauma, however, even if mended, leaves a scar that never truly heals. Recalling it will always bring a dull ache. But Ethan, hanging up the phone at that moment, didn't feel the pain as sharply. What he felt was a profound exhaustion. Hearing Ryan's voice over the phone, he felt an urge to escape this world. Even though he knew that in less than a month he could leave Scarlett, he still wanted to flee. Now, driving his car, the gentle breeze should have been refreshing. But Ethan felt a creeping chill seeping into his skin, into his bones. So cold, so very cold. He drove aimlessly, heading in the opposite direction from home. As if he could escape that suffocating world. He didn't know why this waiting period had to be so long. It stretched before him like an endless century. He wished he could just wake up, and it would be a month later. Then, he could quietly disappear. The turmoil in his heart transferred to his foot on the accelerator. He didn't notice the increasing speed of the car. By the time he snapped back to reality, it was too late. After the ear-piercing screech of brakes against asphalt, there was a deafening crash. His car had slammed into the median barrier. The front end was mangled, and a shard of twisted metal had pierced his thigh. Blood gushed out, unstoppable. Gritting his teeth against the searing pain, Ethan calmly pulled out his phone and called for an ambulance. His composure saved his leg, but it still required 20 stitches. The doctor told Ethan to contact his family. With a leg stitched up like that, he'd be immobile and would need care. Ethan called Scarlett over 10 times, but without exception, she didn't answer. Right now, she must be immersed in her own happiness, probably wouldn't have time for him. Sir, your wife. You can't reach her. The doctor's question drew a bitter smile from Ethan. We're about to get divorced. She probably won't come. Could you help me arrange for a caregiver, please? Thank you. The doctor sighed, shook his head helplessly, and arranged for a home health aide to look after Ethan. The aide was a woman in her early 40s. Seeing Ethan's pitiful state, she couldn't help but grumble. Even if you're getting divorced, coming to take care of him for a bit wouldn't kill her. What a heartless woman. Heartless. Recalling the past 2 years, bit by bit, Ethan could only remain silent. For her career, Ethan had pulled strings, even drank himself into a hospital visit with a perforated stomach to secure an opportunity for her, yet he hadn't dared to disturb her work. Under the high pressure of her intense work schedule, she suffered from poor sleep. Ethan, his heart aching for her, would soak her feet before bed every night. Under her disdainful gaze, he'd wear an eager-to-please smile and massage her pressure points. Whatever she liked, Ethan would strive to provide. He'd prepare gifts for her, create surprises, comfort her every disappointment, praise her every success. Yet her response to Ethan was always just two curt words, "Thank you." From beginning to end, there was no love between them. It was just his own unrequited devotion, sustaining an impossible love. 2 years, 730 days, 17,520 hours, 1,051,200 minutes, 63,072,000 seconds. All screaming that she didn't love him. Even if she knew he was injured, she probably wouldn't leave Ryan's side for him. And the truth, as it turned out, was exactly that. It took a full week before she heard the news and came to the hospital. Seeing Ethan lying in the hospital bed, she began to reproach him. "Something this serious. Why didn't you tell me?" Faced with her blame, Ethan just felt incredibly tired. He didn't want to explain, nor did he want to mention the dozen unanswered calls. "Didn't want to worry you." Ethan forced a smile, his response still aimed at being understanding. Scarlett felt a wave of self-reproach and guilt. Sitting beside him, she couldn't help but explain. That day, I just ran into Ryan unexpectedly. And these past few days, I've been swamped with work. I didn't think about you." Her explanations were even more jarring. Ethan didn't want to hear them. He cut her off. "I understand. You don't need to explain so much." Scarlett's expression softened with even more apology, and a rare, faint smile touched her lips. "Thank you." Ethan smiled too. "No need to thank me. It's what I should do." Before, it was because she was the woman he loved that Ethan could be understanding and not fuss. Now, on the verge of divorce, it was even more important to leave each other with some dignity. There was no need to fuss. Scarlett listened to his words, unchanged as always, unable to discern that their meaning had long since soured. But the guilt in her heart grew stronger. "Ethan, give me some time. I'll announce our marriage as soon as possible. I'll let everyone know that you're my husband." "Okay." Ethan didn't know why she suddenly said this. But it was too late. "Okay." Yet he still lied, responding to her. "I have something else to do, so I can't take care of you." She left him with those words, departing in a hurry. But Ethan saw, as she picked up her phone, the screen flash with an incoming call from Ryan Asher. She was leaving for him again, abandoning him who needed care. This wasn't the first time. He was used to it. Having been in a car accident, Ethan naturally didn't have to go to work. But his resignation letter was already prepared. Once the month was up, he could leave for good, leaving without a trace, as if he had never been there. The days passed one by one. Lying in his hospital bed, Ethan felt an unprecedented sense of peace. 1 day, 2 days, more than half a month went by. His injury hadn't fully healed, but he could be discharged. However, Scarlett didn't come to pick him up from the hospital. Since that one visit, she hadn't shown her face again. All he saw of her were updates on her social media and the newly published magazine. Page after page of her and Ryan, the picture-perfect couple. There were even tabloid rumors, fueled by the agency's PR machine. And all of this she used to detest. But now, she remained silent, as if tacitly accepting it all. Ethan didn't care. He was counting down the days. 3 more days. Ethan returned home. The house was cold and empty. There was no trace of her recent presence. It felt like a house that had been deserted for a long time. It seemed, while he was away, she had been truly busy. Ethan arranged for a new place to live, called a moving truck, and began taking all his belongings. Unexpectedly, Scarlett returned at that moment. She dragged her exhausted body through the door, only to see Ethan busy packing. "You're back." A flash of surprise, then pleasure, crossed her eyes. But seeing the boxes, confusion replaced it. "Are we moving?" She never interfered with household matters. Ethan always arranged everything. "Yes." Ethan lied again. "Why are we moving? Isn't it comfortable here?" Scarlett leaned against the sofa, wearily rubbing her shoulders. "Moving to a more comfortable place." Ethan replied calmly. If she cared even a tiny bit, she would have noticed that what was being moved was all his stuff. But she would never see it. "By the way, are you free in 3 days?" That day, Scarlett paused, then smiled and nodded. "No problem. Is it our housewarming?" "I'll have time." But her words made Ethan feel even more bitter. That day wasn't a housewarming. It was their wedding anniversary. But she had forgotten completely. "Okay, I'll wait for you." Ethan said nothing more, continuing to pack his things. Scarlett said nothing either. Tired, she went upstairs to sleep. 3 days passed in a flash. This was also the last day of Ethan and Scarlett's marriage. To be precise, After 6 o'clock in the evening, they would no longer be husband and wife. Ethan wanted to have one last dinner with her, a farewell dinner. After busily preparing a table full of dishes, he called her. "Sorry, Ethan. Ryan suddenly has something urgent. I have to go. Wait for me. I'll be back soon." Ethan wasn't surprised at all. She could forget their wedding anniversary. What more could he expect? He had done all this simply because he didn't want to leave with regrets. Okay, but in the end, it still became a regret. He waited until 6 o'clock, but Scarlett still hadn't appeared. Ethan's expression was calm. He had long accepted all of this. He gently placed the divorce agreement on the table. He also left a letter, the last letter he would write to her. He took one last, lingering look at the place where he had once lived. Bits and pieces of memories floated in his mind. Ultimately, they only turned into a sigh of regret. "Scarlett Fisher, you're free. In the future, we don't need to see each other again. In the future, I wish you happiness." With those words, Ethan turned and walked away without looking back. He opened the door and left. Ethan walked out of the villa, hailed an Uber, and headed straight for LAX. On the way, he casually booked the earliest available flight and then turned off his phone. He wanted to get away, to see the mountains and rivers, to be himself for once. Looking back, 3 years of pursuit, 2 years of marriage. For a full 5 years, Ethan had lived for Scarlett Fisher. Judging by the outcome, perhaps it wasn't worth it. But in love, there's no such thing as worth it or not. When you're in love, even if there are 1,000 mountains and myriad dangers, you can still cross them. Even if the result isn't what you hoped for, there's no need for resentment or grievance. When you let go, even if there's endless reluctance, it's like a warrior cutting off a wounded wrist. Even if you're covered in scars, you just have to endure it. The moment he stepped onto the plane, his heart felt incredibly light, a sense of ease he had never experienced before. From now on, he wouldn't torment himself over her joys and sorrows, nor would he be melancholic because of her hot and cold behavior. The rest of his life, he would live for himself, and he would also wish her well. At this moment, Scarlett felt an inexplicable unease, as if something vital was quietly slipping away from her life. "Ryan, I have something to take care of. I need to go back. I can't stay with you." Making an excuse, Scarlett quickly drove back. Although it was well past 6, she believed Ethan would wait for her. On the way, she called Ethan over 10 times. But all she got was a busy signal. She sent him messages, but there was no reply. Since she first met Ethan, this was the first time Scarlett couldn't reach him. Whether before or after their marriage, she had long grown accustomed to Ethan being available at her beck and call. Even if it was very late, Ethan would reply to her messages immediately. But today, why couldn't she reach him? Was he busy? Or was he angry? Finally, she arrived home. Seeing the table full of cold dishes, a wave of self-reproach washed over her. She hurried upstairs to find Ethan. But in the large rooms, she couldn't find that familiar figure. Not only that, she discovered that in the entire house, apart from her own belongings, everything related to Ethan had vanished. Her heart pounded violently a few times. She took out her phone and dialed again, but it was still busy. Recalling the events of the past few days, she grew increasingly flustered. Was he really angry? But the Ethan she remembered was so understanding. It shouldn't be like this. She couldn't figure it out. Pacing around, she ended up back in the dining room. As she sat down, she finally noticed a document and a letter placed on the table. She quickly grabbed them. The moment she opened the letter, she saw the familiar handwriting. "Scarlett Fisher, today is our wedding anniversary. It's a pity you forgot." The first sentence stunned Scarlett. She quickly pulled out her phone to check the date and slapped her forehead in annoyance. She silently cursed herself for forgetting such an important day and hurriedly continued reading. "But don't worry, I won't blame you. Do you know? From the first moment I saw you, I fell in love with you. I pursued you for 3 years. I remember the first time I confessed to you, the way you rejected me. I also remember the second time, the third time. But do you remember how many times I confessed in total? 3 years, 99 times. I had originally mustered the courage to confess 100 times and told myself that if you didn't say yes the 100th time, I would give up completely. But that day, before I could even confess, you asked me to marry you. Do you know how happy I was?" Scarlett also recalled those days. Although she didn't remember the exact number of times, she knew that Ethan truly loved her. This was also why she had asked him to marry her. But she didn't understand why Ethan was bringing these things up now. She continued reading, her frown deepening. "Scarlett Fisher, I pursued you for 3 years, and we were married for 2. Although it was only a brief 5 years, I loved you for 5 years. I wanted to give everything to win a place in your heart, but I couldn't do it. There are too many regrets in this world. My regret is not making you fall in love with me. But I don't want you to have regrets, because I know how bitter the taste of regret is. So, I want to help you and Ryan Asher be together. Below this letter is the divorce agreement. Scarlett Fisher, congratulations to you, and congratulations to me. We are divorced. Scarlett's eyes widened. She stared at the word divorced in disbelief, her mind a complete blank. She hastily put down the unfinished letter and picked up the divorce agreement. After flipping through it, she finally found her own name on the signature line. And the handwriting, she knew it all too well. Her face instantly turned deathly pale. But she couldn't understand how she could have signed a divorce agreement. She picked up the letter again and continued reading. A month ago, I tricked you. What you signed wasn't a release form, but the divorce agreement. Forgive my selfishness and concealment, because I really didn't want you to know about this. The month has passed. We are now divorced. I'm walking away with nothing, as an apology for my selfishness and concealment. I also sincerely wish you and Ryan Asher a long and happy life together. Don't look for me again. Go find your happiness. Signed, your ex-husband, Ethan Miller. Looking at those last few words, Scarlett's pupils dilated to their limit, and her lips trembled uncontrollably. Ex-husband. He was clearly her husband. How did he become her ex-husband overnight? She tried to calm herself, her mind racing, replaying the events of the past month. Many details she hadn't noticed before now came into sharp focus. From the moment he smashed the wedding photo, to his repeated talk of moving out. It was all a lie, all a prelude to this divorce. He wanted to leave quietly, without a fuss. It wasn't that she hadn't noticed. Every time she'd asked to see that release form, though interrupted, she clearly remembered the flicker of panic in Ethan's eyes. Even at the party, when she found out and confronted him, he'd lied his way out of it. The thought that Ethan might want to divorce her had indeed crossed her mind, but she had quickly dismissed it, because she knew how much Ethan loved her. She firmly believed that Ethan would never, ever divorce her. She never imagined he would tell such a monumental lie, deceiving her for so long. For a moment, anger surged within her, along with an unfamiliar, unsettling panic. She immediately grabbed her phone and called her best friend, Chloe, asking her to come over with her boyfriend, Ben. Chloe, though puzzled, quickly arrived with Ben. Seeing the panic on Scarlett's face, she rushed to her side. Scarlett, what's wrong? What happened? Scarlett ignored Chloe, her gaze fixed on Ben. Ethan Miller's divorce papers. You helped him with the process, right? Ben froze. Hadn't they already talked about this? Yes, Miss Fisher. Is there a problem? Bang. Scarlett slammed the divorce agreement on the table, her eyes welling with tears as she roared. Yes. Why didn't you explain it clearly to me at the time? Chloe and Ben were bewildered, completely baffled by Scarlett's outburst. But seeing the divorce agreement, Ben seemed to guess something and hastily opened it. On the signature page, he saw Scarlett Fisher's name. Both their eyes widened in shock. They had never imagined this. Scarlett Fisher was married, and her husband was Ethan Miller. Ben looked flustered, instantly understanding everything. He quickly explained. There were no disputes with this agreement. The division of assets was clear. It just needed signatures. So I didn't pay too much attention to the specifics. When I mentioned it at the party, it was just because I knew you and my girlfriend were best friends, and Mr. Miller was your agent. With such a good relationship, I didn't want to charge a legal fee. But who would have thought Mr. Miller was your husband? And that day, you brought Ryan Asher with you. We all thought he was your boyfriend. His words instantly extinguished Scarlett's anger. That's right. That day, she had brought Ryan, not Ethan. That day, Ben had practically told her, and she herself had been suspicious. If she had just paid a little more attention, even a tiny bit, she would have figured out. But she hadn't. Ultimately, it was because she had neglected him too much. Whose fault was this? It was all her own doing. Her anguished expression pained Chloe deeply. She quickly took Scarlett's hand to comfort her. Scarlett, if you don't want to divorce him, just tell him. You two can sit down and talk it through. If talking could solve it, would she be in such pain? So helpless. I can't reach him anymore. Chloe and Ben weren't too concerned. Even if they couldn't reach Ethan directly, they were sure they could contact his family. Friends, relatives, parents, siblings, surely someone could be reached. But they were mistaken. They had overestimated Scarlett. Married for 2 years, she had no contact information for any of Ethan's family or friends. She couldn't even reach his parents. It was only at this moment that she truly understood what her 2-year marriage had meant to Ethan. Was she the only person in his life from her side? Was she even a competent wife? Chloe and Ben couldn't believe it. They had never imagined that Scarlett and Ethan's marriage was like this. As a wife, she didn't know a single person close to her husband. Not even his family. They could understand why Ethan wanted a divorce. Who could endure such a marriage? Don't worry, we'll help you figure something out. They could only sigh and try to console her, but no one had any way to contact Ethan. His phone number was disconnected. Even his usual social media accounts, like WhatsApp and Instagram, were all deleted. It was as if he had never existed in this world. Scarlett couldn't believe it. To divorce her, to get away from her, he had gone to such lengths. Was this the Ethan she knew? No, she had probably never truly known him at all. After all, she had never tried to understand him. Scarlett didn't even know his likes or dislikes. A fire of anger flickered within her, but it couldn't catch. Instead, as she calmed down, the self-reproach and regret grew even stronger. You're his lawyer. You must be able to contact him, right? Ben looked a little awkward. He could, theoretically, contact Ethan through certain, unconventional means. But he was a lawyer. Such actions were unethical, possibly illegal. I'm not asking you to give me his contact information. I just hope you can pass on a message from me, please? Scarlett, compromising, finally got a nod from Ben. She quickly opened her laptop, typed up a document, and sent it to him, her eyes filled with a pleading look that pained both Chloe and Ben to see. I'll do my best. The plane landed. Ethan breathed in the fresh, unfamiliar air. He didn't know where he was, but he enjoyed this aimless journey. Walking along a bustling street, watching people come and go, he visited scenic spots, marveling at the country's magnificent landscapes. He then went to a food street, savoring the local delicacies. Life, it turned out, was so beautiful. Life without Scarlett, it turned out, was very comfortable. He had thought leaving like this would be difficult, painful, but it was the exact opposite. This leisureliness felt like it opened every pore in his body, each cell greedily absorbing the tranquility. It was truly relaxing. Sitting by a lake, Ethan ordered an almost sickeningly sweet boba tea, watching the birds fly by, the ripples on the water, the fiery sun slowly setting. He wasn't in a hurry. He had plenty of time to waste, and he didn't consider it a waste at all. On the contrary, he savored this beauty. Buzz. A message came through on his phone. He hadn't given his new number to anyone. He didn't know who would contact him at this time. Opening it, he saw it was from his lawyer, Ben. Mr. Miller, first I want to apologize. I contacted you through special means, but I hope you can understand. It's just, your wife and my girlfriend are best friends, and I couldn't resist her persistent requests. But rest assured, I won't give your contact information to anyone, especially not to Miss Fisher. However, she asked me to forward a document to you. If you read it, please reply. After all, you left without a word. It's natural for her to be worried. I also hope that if there's anything, you two can sit down and discuss it properly. Ethan knew Scarlett would be angry. His sudden departure would naturally upset her. But sent him a document that he hadn't anticipated. He casually opened it. Ethan was stunned. It was a dense wall of text, like a contract at a glance, at least 10,000 words. Seriously? What was the point of writing so much to him? To berate him? They were divorced. There was absolutely no need for that. He really couldn't be bothered to read it, nor did he want this document to spoil his mood. He casually turned off his phone. He didn't intend to reply to this document either. As night fell, Ethan, after enjoying the evening view, returned to his hotel. Another message from Ben arrived at that moment. Mr. Miller, you saw the document, right? Could you please reply? I'm really under a lot of pressure here. Please take pity on me, okay? His plea made Ethan feel a little helpless. It was true. He had inadvertently dragged someone else into this. That wasn't right. After replying with a simple okay, he typed a few more words into the chat box. Don't want to read the document. We're divorced. Don't disturb me. Then he sent it. At the same moment, Ben took a screenshot of the message, blacked out the phone number, and sent it to Scarlett. A simple sentence, yet it made Scarlett's pupils constrict, an unknown fire igniting in her heart. She quickly typed a torrent of words in her chat box. But as the word count grew, her confidence dwindled. In the end, she let out a sigh, deleted all the words, and leaned back on the sofa, her gaze empty as she stared at the ceiling. At a certain moment, something occurred to her. She picked up Ethan's letter and read it again. And she finally understood why Ethan wanted to divorce her. 24 hours after he left, she finally figured out the reason for the divorce. It turned out, he knew about her and Ryan. Thinking this, Scarlett felt even more uneasy and a pang of regret. Memories slowly surfaced. She sighed deeply. It was true. She had liked Ryan Asher. That was many years ago. 3 years ago, while Ethan was pursuing her, she herself had been pursuing Ryan. But at that time, he didn't like her back. He just treated her as a junior colleague, a younger sister. Scarlett was heartbroken. She had a crush on him, just as Ethan had a crush on her. The turning point was Ryan's marriage. She knew then that she had to say goodbye to Ryan. Her marriage to Ethan, she admitted, was impulsive, but it was also a decision she had thought through. Ethan was very good to her, and she didn't dislike him. She even admired him somewhat. A man pursuing you for 3 years, just like she had pursued Ryan for 3 years. That persistence moved her. Combined with her despair, she married Ethan. But she never regretted it. Not only that, she was also learning to slowly let go. Let go of Ryan, and slowly accept Ethan. It just needed time. And she had achieved it. Now, she could completely treat Ryan as a friend. Even knowing he was divorced, Scarlett had no thoughts of getting together with Ryan. But a 3-year crush, 2 years of letting go. That figure still left a trace in her heart. Perhaps it was habit, or perhaps it was subconscious. She always unthinkingly focused her attention on Ryan. But she truly had no other intentions. As for hiding the marriage, part of it was indeed for her career, but more of it was, she hadn't fully accepted Ethan yet. But now, finding Ethan had left her just like that. The pain in her heart slowly surfaced. She didn't know when it started, but Ethan had truly walked into her heart. It was just that their relationship was calm, without dramatic ups and downs. So, she was angry, not because Ethan left like this, or because he had so meticulously planned the divorce. She could understand all that. It was because he had misunderstood her. But why didn't he give her a chance to explain? Why did he leave without saying goodbye? Why didn't he say a single word and just sentence their marriage to death? Scarlett was furious. Furious at Ethan's lack of confidence. Furious at Ethan's misunderstanding. Furious at Ethan's unilateral decision. And even more furious at herself. Why hadn't she shouldered the responsibilities of a wife? Why hadn't she explained these things clearly sooner? There should be no secrets between husband and wife. She should have told him that she once liked Ryan. But she hadn't. She was even angrier that she hadn't realized Ethan's place in her heart. 2 years of marriage. She had long since fallen for this man who silently gave so much for her. She understood it all in her heart. She wasn't made of stone. From the day she married him, she told herself to forget Ryan Asher, to cherish the man before her. Even now, she had never thought of divorcing Ethan, even with this divorce agreement. More importantly, she currently had no desire whatsoever to be with Ryan Asher. He was divorced, and now she was too. But she didn't want that. What she was thinking about was how to get Ethan back, to make him withdraw the divorce. She still wanted to maintain this marriage with him. But 3 days, she hadn't found any way to contact Ethan. As for Ben, Chloe's boyfriend, she knew she shouldn't trouble him. She had stayed at home in a daze for 3 days. How she wished that when she opened her eyes, she would see Ethan return. She told herself that she would definitely throw herself into his arms and tell him with heartfelt sincerity that the one she loved now was Ethan, not Ryan. Scarlett, are you okay? Ryan hadn't seen Scarlett for a few days. He was a little worried and came to visit her. The moment Scarlett saw him, she made up her mind to explain everything clearly. No, I'm not. Ethan's gone. After Scarlett spoke, Ryan became extremely anxious. What happened? Is he in trouble? That shouldn't be. Ethan is the most dependable agent I've ever met. How could something happen to him? Quick, tell me, is there anything I can do to help him? Ryan was tense, his expression showing genuine concern for Ethan. Scarlett felt even more ashamed. Even an outsider was so worried about him, knew he was a good man, but she hadn't known. We got divorced. Ryan stared at her, his face etched with disbelief. You were married. Ethan Miller was your husband? He had never imagined such a thing. Between them, they just seemed like colleagues. How could they be husband and wife? Yes. Scarlett mustered her courage and told the truth. She even confessed her past feelings for Ryan. Ryan sighed, recalling many things, and shook his head helplessly. Scarlett, you're really foolish. Ethan is such a good man, and you sigh. Since you were married, you should have fulfilled your duties as a wife. Even if you had feelings for someone else, you ultimately chose this marriage. Why were you so foolish? You really hurt him. Ryan also felt self-reproach, but ultimately, he didn't know what to do. If he had known Scarlett and Ethan were married, he definitely would have kept his distance. Even if he considered Scarlett a sister, they weren't blood-related. He should have maintained a proper distance. Scarlett didn't know what to say, rendered speechless by his words. After a long while, Scarlett's eyes reddened, and tears began to fall. I want to find him to explain things clearly, but I can't find him anymore. Ryan knew that Ethan had completely given up hope. He must have been so heartbroken to leave like that. To put it another way, you never really cared about him. Otherwise, No matter how cleanly a person leaves, there will always be some traces, some connections. But you know nothing. Scarlett, you should apologize to him. Scarlett's tears fell more heavily. At this moment, she finally understood how terribly wrong she had been. Sigh. Ryan didn't disturb Scarlett further and left. He didn't know how to comfort Scarlett. After all, he was part of the reason for this mess. All he could do was try his best to find Ethan. He could see that Ethan loved Scarlett very much. And Scarlett, she loved him too. They were a loving couple who had reached this point. It really shouldn't have happened. This was his way of making amends for their relationship. But for him to find Ethan, it would be even harder. And so, the days passed, one by one. A full week had gone by since Ethan left. For a week, her mind had been blank. She had no idea what to do. Ethan, on the other hand, wore a smile every day. He had traveled to many places, met many people. The scenery, the food, and the fleeting acquaintances made along the way. Life, indeed, was very interesting. He also understood why so many people love to travel. Every day, you could see different sights, meet different people. It injected new blood into life. How much is this? Ethan passed by a small stall and saw some souvenir trinkets. Sir, $10 each. Buy two and get a 10% discount. The stall owner was a young girl. These items were probably all handmade by her. $10 really wasn't expensive. Okay, I'll take one then. Ethan picked one that caught his eye. He liked it very much. Sir, two for a discount. Aren't you going to buy one for your wife? Ethan paused slightly. For Scarlett. He hadn't thought about it, but he was curious. How did she know he had a wife? Ethan voiced his confusion, and the young girl explained. Just a feeling, I guess. I met a lot of people. Men with wives are different. This intuition was quite interesting, but Ethan still shook his head. You guessed half right. I did have a wife, but we're divorced now. But I'll still buy two. She wanted to make more money, and he didn't mind the extra few dollars. However, he bought two that he liked for himself. As he left, the young girl stared at his back for a long time. No matter how she looked, she couldn't tell he was a divorced man. And so, Ethan continued his solo journey. Day by day, nearly a month had passed since he left. Ethan was living comfortably, feeling at ease, but Scarlett was like a lost soul, gloomy and depressed all day long. Her best friend, Chloe, was heartbroken, pestering her boyfriend, Ben, daily for solutions. As a lawyer, Ben naturally didn't want to get involved. Besides, he could see that Ethan's departure was justified. Although he sympathized with Scarlett, it was limited to sympathy. However, he couldn't withstand his girlfriend's relentless persuasion. Finally, he thought of a way. Although there's nothing wrong with this divorce agreement, you can still raise an objection, for example, regarding the division of assets. As long as you bring it up, Mr. Miller will have to come back to deal with it. The method is a bit underhanded, but ultimately, it's better than not seeing him at all. And you absolutely must not say I told you this. Ben, against his conscience, proposed the idea. Scarlett's eyes finally lit up. The next day, Ethan received a summons. Scarlett had filed a lawsuit, claiming an uneven distribution of assets, demanding a redivision. Ethan was instantly speechless. Ethan called his lawyer, Ben, Scarlett's best friend's boyfriend, to ask about the matter. Mr. Miller, both parties in a marriage have the right to file a lawsuit. The reason Miss Fisher filed this is actually because she wants you to come back. And this kind of issue can only be resolved by you in person. If it's resolved well, you can also get the divorce decree sooner. Besides, although you are technically divorced now, you haven't received the official decree. You'll have to get it sooner or later. Ethan was very frustrated. He hadn't expected getting a divorce to be this difficult. He also knew that Scarlett just wanted to force him back. Even if he agreed to everything on his end, she would still insist on him returning. Actually, he had considered this. He thought that after he left, Scarlett would just be angry for a while. With Ryan Asher around, it wouldn't take long for her to agree to finalize the divorce. Returning at that point would cause no ripples. He never expected her not to follow his script. Could it be that his sudden divorce had hurt her pride? Or did she really have something to say? Helpless, he could only book a flight and reluctantly head back. When Scarlett learned this news, she immediately started preparing, redecorating the entire condo. She restored it to its original appearance, even buying new replacements for everything she could remember that belonged to Ethan. She even had the wedding photo reframed and hung it back on the wall. She hoped that when Ethan returned to this home, saw all of this, life could get back on track, back to how it was. However, Ethan didn't contact her immediately upon his return. Even when she had tried to arrange a meeting with Ethan, she was met with a cold refusal. Mr. Miller said to ask you how you want the assets divided. He will sign off on any distribution plan you approve, Ben said helplessly, knowing Ethan simply didn't want to see Scarlett. Even back in town, he didn't want to see her. I have to talk to him in person. Scarlett was adamant. If they didn't talk face to face, how could she possibly win him back? Helpless, Ben could only contact Ethan again. But Ethan's attitude was firm. Anything could be handled through the lawyers. Soon, there was a reply. Tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock, at the county clerk's office. Mr. Miller specifically instructed that you bring all relevant documents. Scarlett's face was etched with bitterness. This past month, trying to contact Ethan through Ben, she'd often wait 10 days for a single piece of news. Now that she'd agreed to go to the county clerk's office, he responded immediately. So, it wasn't that he was busy. He just didn't want to come back. In other words, he didn't want any connection with her, except for this one last thread. The divorce decree that represented the end of their marriage. County clerk's office, 9 o'clock. Scarlett arrived early, but she came empty-handed. She had never intended to get divorced. Not bringing the documents was the best approach. Scarlett stood by her car, constantly watching both sides of the street. She didn't know which direction Ethan would come from. She wanted to be the first to see him. Around 9:05, a taxi pulled up in front of her. Ethan got out, carrying a file folder. He was late. In the past, he would never be late. Scarlett's eyes dimmed slightly, the pain in her heart intensifying, especially when she saw Ethan. He looked like a new person, full of vitality, radiating energy. This state reminded her of when she first met him 5 years ago. There was no trace of sadness due to the divorce. Not even a hint. Scarlett's heart ached even more. So, all this time, was she the only one grieving? Did he not care at all? Her lips trembled, wanting to say something, but she didn't know what. Ethan spoke first. Sorry, I'm late. Kept you waiting. Shall we go in? Ethan spoke politely, very courteously, yet with a distance that made him feel like a stranger. After saying this, he walked straight towards the county clerk's office. But Scarlett didn't move, standing rooted to the spot, just watching him. Ethan looked puzzled, his brow furrowing slightly. Seeing her empty hands, seeing her unmoving, he finally understood. What do you mean? Didn't you agree to the divorce? What's this drama now? He had thought Scarlett had agreed. He never imagined she had tricked him. Hearing his words, Scarlett felt a heavy stone in her chest, pressing down on her, almost suffocating her. Can we talk? She spoke in an almost pleading tone, the first time in 5 years she had used such a tone. But his response was just a calm sentence. Let's get the divorce decree first, then we can talk. Ethan didn't know why she didn't want a divorce, but he didn't want any more complications. Scarlett's face turned even paler. She clenched her fists so tightly her nails dug into her palms, yet her voice remained gentle. I can't find a marriage certificate. You know, you're the one who packed everything at home. So, can I take you home, and you help me find it? Scarlett thought this lie could deceive Ethan. But Ethan didn't fall for it at all. The marriage certificate has always been with your other important documents. It's in your nightstand. Go get it. I'll wait here for you. Or you can reschedule. Come back when you have everything. Scarlett knew he had seen through her lie. She also knew Ethan was smart, knew her well. It was just that he never used to be so serious with her. Now, his unhesitating exposure of her lie made her feel even worse. He had always indulged her. No matter what lies she told, he understood. He would consider her feelings and wouldn't point it out. Now, he no longer treated her with that carefulness. He wasn't holding back anymore. She never thought their first meeting after a month would be so awkward. Nor did she expect that in just one short month, she and Ethan would have grown so distant. She regretted it deeply. If she had known it would be like this, she would have told Ethan the truth much earlier and tried to keep him. Scarlett's mind raced, and finally, she found a solution. Ethan, even if we were getting divorced, can we sit down and talk? I promise you, as long as you come home with me, I will definitely divorce you, okay? Scarlett lied again. She wasn't good at lying, but this was an open gambit. If Ethan wanted to divorce her, he had to agree. Really? Ethan was skeptical, his gaze towards her carrying a hint of coldness. Really? Scarlett looked Ethan straight in the eye, her gaze firm, but ultimately lacking confidence. Ethan knew he had to go through this sooner or later. This divorce wasn't something he could get just because he wanted it so easily. So he nodded in agreement. He also wanted to see what Scarlett really wanted to say. Once in the car, Ethan leaned his head against the window, looking outside. Scarlett secretly watched him, her heart aching. They hadn't seen each other for so long, yet he didn't want to say a single word to her. But she knew this was all her fault. Recalling the past, when he drove, he would always find topics to talk about with her. He would even try to make her laugh. Thinking back now, she really didn't know how to cherish him. So, She also tried to be like Ethan, finding topics for conversation. I heard you quit your job. What are your plans next? Ethan replied casually. That's my business, has nothing to do with you, right? The heartless words pierced Scarlett's heart. She couldn't help but retort stubbornly. How was it none of my business? Even if we get divorced, we can still be friends, right? Ethan smiled, the first time he had smiled since seeing her. But it was a cold smile. Sorry, I don't have a habit of being friends with my ex-wife. Scarlett was furious. How could he be so cruel? He used to love her so much. Now that he suddenly didn't love her, could he be this cold? Every word was filled with rejection and defensiveness. So ruthless. Ethan Miller, let me tell you, although we've started the divorce proceedings, we haven't gotten the divorce decree yet. Legally, I am still your wife. Ethan glanced at her, his eyes full of confusion, and voiced his bewilderment. So, what exactly are you trying to say? Scarlett slammed on the brakes, her gaze fixed on Ethan. What I'm trying to say is, I have my own thoughts about this divorce. Ethan didn't understand her words. Her thoughts? Did she have other ideas? What thoughts? Is there a problem with the divorce agreement? Or with the asset distribution? Or perhaps, you feel you've lost face because I initiated the divorce. It doesn't matter. As long as you say it, I'll satisfy you. As long as you're willing to get divorced. Ethan didn't know what she was really trying to do, but for him, it was all irrelevant. What he wanted was the divorce decree. That's not what I mean. Ethan Miller, you're going too far. Scarlett glared angrily. She didn't understand how Ethan had become like this. Every other sentence was about divorce. Was he really that eager to divorce her? Even if she had done something wrong, was there no hope for reconciliation? Did he have to be so absolute to be happy? Scarlett Fisher, I don't quite understand you. You don't love me. Divorcing me should be what you desperately want. Now you're acting like this. Could it be? You regret it. You don't want to divorce me? Ethan's question, still, was laced with coldness. Scarlett really wanted to say yes, but when the words reached her lips, she just snorted and said instead, I just don't want to get divorced so ambiguously. This made Ethan even more confused. Ambiguously? I don't understand. How is it ambiguous? If a relationship breaks down, isn't divorce the next step? Without love, isn't marriage a mistake? She has someone she cherishes. His leaving, isn't that perfectly appropriate? You don't understand? Fine, I'll tell you. Divorce is fine, but I don't want to be divorced because you misunderstood me. Divorce is fine, but I don't want you to divorce me without giving me a chance. Divorce is fine, but I don't want us to be strangers from now on, with no connection whatsoever. Scarlett didn't understand why he was being so cruel. He used to love her so much. Even if there was a misunderstanding, could this love be let go of so easily? And only the matter of coming to the county clerk's office could move him. Even when discussing the divorce, he seemed uninterested, acting as if it was all up to her. Scarlett didn't understand. She really didn't understand. But after she finished speaking, it was Ethan's turn to be confused. Didn't she love Ryan Asher? Shouldn't she be happy to see him divorcing her without a fuss? And shouldn't she go to Ryan after divorcing him? Why was she saying all this to him instead? And her tone, it sounded as if she loved him. Scarlett saw the confusion on Ethan's face and knew he didn't understand why she was saying these things. She seized the moment, intending to explain everything clearly. Ethan, do you think I'm in love with Ryan Asher? Have you ever considered that this might all be a misunderstanding? Ethan shook his head, his voice firm. I don't think it's a misunderstanding. His firmness was like a heavy blow, striking her heart hard. It also added a layer of self-blame to her heart. It was indeed her fault for acting in a way that made him misunderstand. Scarlett took a deep breath, slowed her tone, and spoke with apology. Sorry, it's my fault. There are some things I should have told you long ago. I kept putting it off, and that's why you've misunderstood for so long. Ethan didn't quite understand this apology, and what he wanted now wasn't an apology. After the divorce, he was doing well, so he had grown to like this feeling. Besides, he hadn't figured out what Scarlett really meant, so he responded without thinking. It's all in the past. There's no need for an apology. It's better to get the divorce decree quickly, so we can both move on, even if you feel you've wronged me in some way. As long as you agree to the divorce soon, I'll forgive you. Scarlett's heart ached even more. She hadn't even explained, and she was met with such a blunt rejection. She could understand the kind of pain she had inflicted on Ethan. 2 years of marriage, what had she done? How could she have hurt him so deeply? Ethan, I know you want a divorce, but let me just say one thing. If you still insist on divorcing, I will agree. Ethan nodded without hesitation, asking her what she really wanted to say. But Scarlett's words deeply shocked Ethan. He had never thought he would one day hear her say such things. I don't want to get divorced. Can you give me a chance? Let us start over. I promise. I will love you properly. Ethan's eyes widened. He was so shocked that he couldn't help but lean closer, scrutinizing Scarlett carefully. He could understand how this woman could say such words. Was the Scarlett before him really Scarlett Fisher? Was she plotting something against him? Ethan's expression also made Scarlett's heart tremble. His reaction was one of pure shock. In other words, in his mind, her image was not that of a wife at all, but that of a woman harboring feelings for another man. If you have any doubts, just ask. I'll answer everything for you today. Scarlett didn't voice all her thoughts. She didn't know what Ethan wanted to know. It was better to give him the initiative. Whatever he asked, she would tell him without reservation. I really want to know, after 3 years of pursuit, you were indifferent. You finally married me because Ryan Asher took someone else's hand. You were heartbroken and couldn't move on, and you used an almost punitive method to put an end to your feelings for him. During our 2 years of marriage, your heart wasn't with me either. You were just slowly healing your emotional wounds. I don't know if you would have healed in a few more years, but fate didn't give us that time. Now that he's divorced and single again, you're overjoyed, your eyes are full of his image, and you feel our marriage was a mistake, and you have regrets. All I'm doing is correcting our marriage, mending this mistake, so you no longer have regrets. I'm also willing to step aside and let you pursue your own happiness. But I don't understand why. You're asking me to give you a chance. Between us, isn't the word chance too illusory? Ethan summarized their entire history in a few sentences. 3 years of pursuit, 2 years of marriage. He also summed up all her states of mind, from her disappointment and marrying him as a form of self-punishment, to her 2 years of listlessly healing herself, to her current joy at seeing her former love single again. Ethan hadn't misspoken a single step, but he just didn't understand why Scarlett didn't want a divorce. Why did she want to save this loveless marriage? You're wrong. From the moment I married you, I was determined to spend my life with you. I did like Ryan Asher, but that was in the past. Since I married you, and he married someone else, I stopped loving him. As far as I'm concerned, our marriage was never a mistake. I never had any regrets regarding Ryan. If there are any, those regrets are for you. I don't want our marriage to end so hastily. That's my regret. Ethan Miller, I want to tell you, I truly want to spend the rest of my life with you. Believe me, please. After all these years, it was the first time he had heard Scarlett say something so affectionate, like a confession, and also a declaration of her true feelings. But countless disappointments, countless accumulated resentments, had long since eroded Ethan's trust. He was also long past the age where he could be deceived by a few sweet words. After all, Scarlett had lied to him too many times. Even poison should have built up some resistance by now, let alone lies. Ethan silently sat back down, silently closed his eyes. Under Scarlett's anxious gaze, after a long while, he finally spoke softly. Scarlett Fisher, do you think I'm that easy to fool? Scarlett's body trembled. She knew Ethan didn't trust her. Countless lies, countless instances of coldness, had long since exhausted the passion he once had for her, even if his passion was once as hot as the sun. But pouring basin after basin of cold water on it would eventually extinguish it. She wasn't angry because she knew she had no right to be. She had anticipated this outcome, so she accepted Ethan's suspicion calmly. After a long while, she also took a deep breath and spoke with solemnity. Ethan, what's past is past. I just want one chance. I will use the rest of my life to prove that I truly want to be with you, through thick and thin. Can I? Ethan shook his head. He didn't want to waste any more time. Sorry, I'm tired. Right now, all I want is a divorce. If it's really as you say, please prove it by agreeing to the divorce, okay? Scarlett's heart pounded violently, her lips trembling uncontrollably. She didn't understand why. After she had said so much, Ethan remained unmoved. Was he really so heartless? Everything she had just said, everything she had explained. In the end, it all came back to those 2 words, divorce. What he wanted most was still a divorce. Drive. Ethan urged her, saying no more. Scarlett, helpless, could only drive the car home. She kept thinking of ways to make Ethan stay. However, after the car stopped, Ethan very nimbly unbuckled his seatbelt, pushed open the door, and entered the villa. It felt as if he couldn't wait another second, wanting to get the marriage certificate immediately. But Ethan, upon entering the villa and seeing the familiar layout, felt a little disoriented. He clearly remembered taking these things with him, didn't he? Could she have found his new address? As he wondered, he noticed that these items were brand new, freshly bought. And that wedding photo, he didn't know when it had been hung back up. He had clearly smashed it and burned it. Was it Scarlett? Had she redecorated everything back to how it was? This is how our home looks. I don't want you to come back and see a mess, to see no trace of you. For me, only these things can prove you still exist. Otherwise, this is just a square space made of bricks with no warmth at all. Ethan was somewhat moved, but only for a fleeting moment. That flicker of emotion, the instant it lingered, was extinguished by 5 long years of helplessness. The trace of guilt that arose in his heart also vanished into thin air. The memories of the past were too profound, so profound they could never be forgotten. Such trivial matters certainly couldn't change anything. And he instantly ignored Scarlett's melodrama and, taking 2 steps at a time, went upstairs and retrieved the marriage certificate from the nightstand. He strode back to the living room. Barely 5 minutes had passed. The moment Scarlett saw the marriage certificate, her heart trembled. Was he indifferent to all of this? Was he so callously bringing out the marriage certificate, so eager to divorce her? She didn't understand what she should do to make him stay. Ethan, do you really want to divorce me? Tell me, have you ever wavered, even for a second? Scarlett wanted to use this answer to prove that Ethan still had feelings for her, but she was disappointed, just like Ethan had been disappointed every time. Sorry, never. For words, like a steel knife, brutally stabbed into Scarlett's heart. And at that moment, she finally understood. When Ethan had loved her, he was so gentle, he wouldn't say a harsh word. Even when rejecting her, he would express it tactfully. But now, his tenderness towards her, his meekness, had vanished completely. Instead, his decisiveness was firm and forceful. So, when he loved her, he was so humble. Now that he didn't love her, like all men, had a temper. Her heart felt like dead ashes. She was in great pain. She grieved that he, in order to love her, had hidden his true self, been bullied by her, been hurt by her, yet pretended nothing was wrong. She grieved that he endured her neglect, endured the grievances she brought him, day after day, yet still had to accommodate her, saying it was okay. 2 years of marriage, how many times had she hurt him for him to become like this? Although she also felt aggrieved at this moment, not understood, not forgiven, even after being humble, still facing rejection. But compared to his grievances, hers were just a drop in the ocean. She could barely endure this one day of grievance. How had he endured his grievances over these 2 years? What had she done? She had taken his forbearance and favoritism for granted. She had taken his sacrifices and heartaches as what should be. She had taken his accommodation and concealment as his true nature. So, that's why he was so decisive, so ruthless when he let go. Scarlett trembled all over, feeling as if her blood was being drained. It hurt so much. She ached not only for herself, but also for Ethan. Of course, she also ached for herself, because she had seen Ethan when he loved her, and now, seeing him when he didn't love her, it was visible to the naked eye. But what could she do? There was no way. It was all her own doing. Understood. You really want a divorce, right? After Scarlett finished speaking, Ethan nodded slightly. This was what he had always insisted on. Okay, I agree. Taking the marriage certificate, Scarlett, enduring the pain, opened the door and left. He wanted a divorce. She had no reason to refuse. Not only that, this time, just like 3 years ago, she took Ethan's hand and eagerly walked into the county clerk's office. Only, she was in a daze, and so was Ethan. That year, she had pulled him just like this to the marriage registration office. And today, she was also pulling him to go through the divorce procedures. However, Ethan believed this was an end. But Scarlett knew this wasn't an end, but a new beginning. Since the marriage couldn't continue, she would change her status and possess him again. He had spent 3 years pursuing her, 2 years walking in her heart, a total of 5 years. He had wasted 5 years of his youth on her, and she, naturally, could too. Wasn't it just 5 years? It was nothing to her. If he wanted to run, she could chase. Even if he didn't love her, Scarlett had a chance to make him fall in love with her. The divorce decree was processed quickly. Looking at the document, the heavy weight on Ethan's heart lifted. Scarlett smiled at Ethan. I did what I promised you. But shouldn't you also fulfill your promise? Ethan was puzzled. He had never promised anything. You forgot so quickly. You said as long as I got the marriage certificate with you, I could do anything. Ethan blinked. He seemed to recall saying that, but he didn't understand what Scarlett was planning to do. What do you want? Scarlett casually put her hands behind her back, gently stood on her tiptoes. A breeze blew, lifting her hair. Under the setting sun, she looked so beautiful. Even more beautiful was what she said. I'm going to pursue you. Pursue. This word, Ethan couldn't believe it came from Scarlett's mouth. He stared, his eyes wide with confusion. What was this all about? Ethan Miller, I agreed to divorce you, but I never promised that we would just part ways like this for the rest of our lives. And you can't just part ways with me either. You're my agent. You know me best. My everything. I can't do without you, whether it's emotionally or in life. So, I will use my own ways to win you back. You can't hide from me. You can't just disappear off the face of the earth. Scarlett leaned closer to Ethan, her smiling face so captivating. Yet it also made him feel incredibly unfamiliar. That's not right. We're divorced. A true ex-wife and ex-husband. They're like dead people to each other. We should go our separate ways and never see each other again. Besides, I've already quit my job. You can find a more suitable agent. Ethan instinctively spoke, refuting her words. So what? That's your idea. I don't agree. Besides, getting a divorce is your right, and pursuing you is my right. You have no right to interfere. Give it here. Scarlett held out her hand. Ethan instinctively hid the divorce decree behind his back. She wasn't going to snatch the divorce decree, was she? Look at you. Give me your phone. She wanted his phone? What did this mean? I want you to add all my contact information back. You're not allowed to block me, not allowed to ignore my calls, and no playing mysterious disappearing acts. You just promised this. I even gave you the little divorce booklet. You're a man of your word. You wouldn't go back on it, would you? Scarlett's cunning gaze held a mischievous glint. Ethan had never seen her like this before. He just couldn't figure out what this woman was up to, perhaps dazed by her words, or perhaps to fulfill his promise. After all, he was a man of his word. He handed over his phone. Soon, all his contact information was under her control. But where there's a policy, there's a countermeasure. Even with his contact info, he could choose not to be available at her beck and call, not to reply instantly. But I have demands too. You can't contact me all the time. Our relationship is ex-wife and ex-husband. You need to understand boundaries. Also, be polite when you talk to me. I'm not your agent anymore, so don't boss me around. As for meeting, that depends on my mood. Scarlett snorted, looking at this man with exasperation. He really was meticulous. 3 years as friends, 2 years as husband and wife. You're truly heartless. We've known each other for 5 years. 5 years. You wanted a divorce, I agreed. You wanted the divorce decree, I gave it to you. And now you say this to me. Ethan Miller, you really are a cruel man. They say even a one-day marriage brings 100 days of grace. 2 years of marriage, that should at least amount to 20 years of lingering affection, right? If someone didn't know better, they'd think you were having an affair. Scarlett pouted, her face full of resentment. Her words made Ethan shiver. He had never seen Scarlett like this. It was too much for him. Without even saying goodbye, he waved down a taxi and immediately left. And behind him, Scarlett's bell-like laughter rang out, tinged with amusement and a hint of triumph. Ethan was still somewhat bewildered even after returning to his new apartment. Today, Scarlett was like a completely different person. If it weren't for the divorce decree in his hand, he would have thought he was dreaming. As for pursuing him, he couldn't believe she was capable of saying such a thing. Of course, he just took it as a joke. After all, Ethan knew how much she loved Ryan Asher. Perhaps right now, she was just disoriented by his sudden departure and saying things in anger. He believed that, over time, she would move on from this marriage and embrace new happiness. Finally single again, Ethan breathed a sigh of relief. He had earned a lot of money these past few years, enough to be self-sufficient. Besides, he still had some standing in the entertainment industry. Even if he wasn't an agent, he could still make money. So he shifted his work behind the scenes. He didn't want to work so hard anymore. In the days to come, he would enjoy life. He thought again of his month-long trip, his heart warming at the memory. Because of Scarlett, he had still been disturbed. This time, with the divorce decree, he should be able to enjoy life better. So he spent one night planning his route, ready to arrange things at home and continue his travels. Unexpectedly, the next day, he received a call from his lawyer, Ben, who wanted to meet him. Thinking that although Ben had unintentionally revealed his divorce plans and had also helped Scarlett contact him, and, of course, Ben had recently acted as a go-between, Ethan felt he really should express his gratitude. If it weren't for him, Ethan probably wouldn't have gotten divorced so smoothly. They arranged to meet in a private room at a bar. Mr. Miller, apologize. It was my oversight. The moment Ben saw Ethan, he apologized. After all, some of the less-than-ideal suggestions had come from him. But he couldn't help it. It's not your fault. Blame it on the world being too small. Besides, you even refunded my legal fees. Ethan joked, and Ben laughed heartily. That's a small matter. But, Mr. Miller, are you really sure you want to end things with Miss Fisher? Are you really sure? Have you made up your mind? Ethan nodded. It was already a done deal, What was there to be unsure about? Of course. I even have the divorce decree. Did you? Did you think I was joking? Ethan's rhetorical question made Ben smile awkwardly. No, I just think it's a pity. You two should actually be together. Ethan didn't quite understand why he would say that. But before he could react, a woman pushed open the door of the private room's restroom and walked out. I'm your wife's best friend. Her best friend for over 10 years. Before she married you, we were already best friends. Ethan Miller, it was me who asked my boyfriend to set up this meeting. I know this might seem a bit abrupt, but I still want to say, your divorce was too hasty, and you were too heartless. You don't know how much Scarlett loves you. So, please give her a chance. The woman's sudden intrusion caught Ethan off guard. When he looked at Ben, his face was filled with helplessness, and he could only gesture apologetically. Sorry, I told you. I really couldn't help it. Mr. Miller, please don't blame me. Ethan sighed helplessly but wasn't angry. Now that the divorce decree was in hand, what was there to be angry about? However, he couldn't believe the woman's words. Sorry, divorced is divorced. There's no such thing as a chance. Since we got married, we've never had a single argument. This divorce was also very smooth. As for the future, I don't know what will happen, but I hope we'll have no further contact. Ethan had never changed his mind. Divorced was divorced. Love or no love, it was all in the past. 3 years of pursuit, 2 years of marriage. 5 years was enough. Besides, they wouldn't know Scarlett that well. What did she mean, give her a chance? Give a chance to someone who doesn't love him to love him. It sounded quite convoluted. How can you be so cruel? Ethan Miller, Scarlett really loves you. The woman didn't know what to say, anxiously stomping her foot, her tone urgent. It was clear their friendship was very strong. But, does any of that still matter? Ethan asked a very pointed question. We're divorced. That proves our marriage wasn't happy. If we weren't happy together, can we be happy by getting back together? You should understand the saying, a broken mirror is hard to mend, right? Ethan simply expressed his views, not wanting to say more. For them, they had their reasons for saying these things. And for himself, 5 years was long enough. If it hadn't changed a person, then it would never change in this lifetime. Rather than continue in pain, it was better to let go and go their separate ways. All right, I have other things to do, so I'll take my leave. Ethan didn't give them a chance to speak, leaving these words behind as he departed. But Ethan didn't know that just as he left, the restroom door was pushed open again. Scarlett walked out, her face deathly pale. Chloe and Ben both sighed repeatedly. Scarlett, don't worry. He's probably still angry. Chloe quickly took Scarlett's hand to comfort her. Seeing the helplessness on her face, Chloe's heart ached for her. She had never seen her best friend like this. He's not angry. I know him. This is what he truly thinks. Scarlett shook her head. Whether it was said in anger or not, after so many years, how could she not know? No matter how much Ethan loved her, how much grievance he could endure for her, his temper was as stubborn as a mule. Only during those 5 years was he as meek as a kitten, hiding all his emotions. But now that he didn't love her anymore, that meekness naturally disappeared. Then what can we do? Is there really no chance for you two to get back together? Will you give up? Chloe looked at Scarlett nervously, very worried. She worried that Scarlett would be heartbroken by this, and also worried that she wouldn't give up and would ultimately be disappointed. But as her best friend, all she could do was offer silent support. Scarlett smiled. Her gaze was very determined. I won't give up. He loved me for 5 years. It was I who threw away that love. Now, I will get it back bit by bit, no matter how hard it is. I won't give up. From the moment she got the divorce decree. No, from the moment she saw the divorce agreement. That had been her plan. Why should Ethan Miller just walk away whenever he pleased? Previously, she didn't know she had fallen in love with Ethan. But now that she knew, she couldn't let him escape. Wasn't it just 5 years? Wasn't it just enduring some hardship? Wasn't it just 99 confessions? Couldn't she do it? Couldn't she persevere? Ethan Miller, you underestimate me. Scarlett's heart was resolute, and her confessions transformed into a stream of text messages sent to Ethan. I like you. Can you be my boyfriend? She added in parentheses. Confession X1. Ethan was astonished, feeling this confession was like child's play. People who were already divorced, how could they do such a thing? He couldn't understand it, nor did he reply to the message. But she quickly sent a photo over. She had meticulously decorated her home, bought a cake, and a gift. It was a very nice pair of sunglasses, his favorite brand. A gift for you and cake. Even though you're not here, the confession ceremony is still happening. If you want to come over, I'm still waiting for you at home. Ethan sighed, but ultimately he didn't go. All he wanted now was to end this marriage properly and live peacefully apart from Scarlett. As for the confession, he didn't know how to respond. Or perhaps she was just acting on a whim, trying to make amends. In short, he couldn't figure it out, so he didn't dwell on it. After packing his things, Ethan prepared to start his journey. But unexpectedly, the second person who wanted to see him was Ryan Asher. "Ethan, my friend, can we meet?" His tone carried a faint plea, which made Ethan pause. If possible, he naturally didn't want to see this person. Once, they were rivals in love. He was Ethan's nightmare. Because of his existence, his marriage with Scarlett had reached this point. But Ethan knew he couldn't blame him. He didn't know Ethan and Scarlett were married. He simply thought Scarlett was still single, and that Ethan was merely her agent. But setting other things aside, Ryan Asher was genuinely a good person. Polite, and treated others, including Ethan, very gently. But he still didn't want to meet. "Ryan, if this is about Scarlett, can we not meet?" Ryan had known he would say this, and gave him a reason he couldn't refuse. "Ethan, my friend, even if you and Scarlett are divorced, isn't there still a bond between us? Come to think of it, you've known me longer than you've known Scarlett. We're colleagues and friends, aren't we? Are you going to cut off our friendship because of her?" The Ethan I remember wouldn't be like this. His reasoning, Ethan truly couldn't refuse. "Okay, I'll go." They agreed on a meeting place, and Ethan met Ryan Asher. However, the scene was somewhat awkward. "Ethan, my friend, whether you forgive me or not, I have to apologize to you. Similarly, I also want to solemnly declare to you that Scarlett and I have no relationship whatsoever. Even if there was, it was as friends. I've always regarded her as my younger sister." Ryan's first sentence clarified the matter. He didn't want to hide anything, nor did he want Ethan to misunderstand. "I know, Ryan. I've never been angry with you." In fact, Ethan had no reason to be angry with Ryan Asher. He was kept in the dark, unaware they were married, and he was needlessly dragged into it. "I know, but if I don't explain clearly, my conscience won't be at ease." "But, Ethan, my friend, are you really prepared to separate from Scarlett? Are you really not going to give her another chance?" Ryan also asked this question. But Ethan couldn't understand why everyone kept asking this. Did he seem that reluctant? "We're already divorced." Ethan didn't say much, but this simple sentence represented everything. Ryan sighed and pulled Ethan to sit down. "I understand. Actually, it hasn't been easy for you. You pursued Scarlett for so long and finally got married. But the marriage was hidden from everyone. In everyone's eyes, you were just a celebrity and an agent. She didn't notice your emotions. Even, she knew very little about you. This love for you has been very bitter, very bitter. It's understandable that you want to leave." Ryan understood Ethan. Any man who encountered such a situation would probably be miserable, especially when facing such a woman. A woman who knew next to nothing about you. That was what hurt the most. It's all in the past. Ethan didn't want to talk about these things. He didn't want to play the victim, nor did he want pity. Still the same sentiment. When he loved, he was willing to give everything. When he didn't love, he also had no lingering attachments. It was that simple. But there are some things I still want to make clear to you." Ryan smiled, then organized his thoughts before slowly speaking. "Actually, I knew from the beginning that Scarlett liked me." This first sentence stunned Ethan. He knew all along. When she joined the agency, I could tell from the way she looked at me. She fell for me at first sight, just like you fell for her at first sight. But I never liked her back. I just treated her like a younger sister. You know me, I treat everyone like that. That magazine shoot last time, actually, I was doing it for Scarlett's good, definitely not to take advantage of her. At the time, the investor told me that although Scarlett was famous, had great acting skills, and a huge fan base, she was too conservative. The feedback she gave to her fans, and to the market, was too little. At least, there should be something that makes people's eyes light up. So I arranged that magazine shoot with her. But the premise of this was, I was divorced. If I hadn't been divorced, I actually couldn't have done it. Never mind what you and Scarlett think, just dealing with my wife, I wouldn't have been able to explain it. Can you understand? Ethan didn't doubt Ryan Asher's words. In fact, it was true. He was such a gentle person. Besides, magazine shoots between celebrities were perfectly normal. It was all for hype, for publicity, and for fame. As an agent, Ethan had seen far more complex schemes. Manufacturing CPs, leaking scandals, reversing narratives for a clean slate. All were underhanded tactics. A mere magazine shoot was perfectly normal. I actually wanted to help Scarlett move forward. After all, she's been very good to me. She also helped me a lot during my divorce this time. But our relationship is limited to friends, like a brother and sister. Of course, if you ask me if I ever had feelings for her, what I want to tell you is, I did. Scarlett is so beautiful and such a good person. What man could resist her? Besides, as they say, A man chasing a woman is like climbing a mountain, but a woman chasing a man is like piercing through gauze. I believe no man in this world could resist that temptation, right? But do you know why I still maintain this colleague-like, friend-like, or brother-sister relationship with her? This question, Ethan really wanted to know. If Ryan Asher also had feelings for Scarlett, they could easily have gotten together. Ryan saw the curiosity in Ethan's eyes and didn't beat around the bush anymore. The reason is simple. Because she stopped loving me a long time ago. When this sentence fell, Ethan was completely stunned. Stopped loving him. What did that mean? Was he joking with him? You must think I'm lying to you, but that's the truth. I've seen the look in her eyes when she liked me. I know what that feels like. Naturally, I can tell if the way she looks at me now is with affection. Ethan Miller, I'm not lying to you. She stopped loving me a long time ago. After I got married, the way she looked at me slowly changed. Actually, I was relieved too, because I was worried my wife would find out. After all, I never liked Scarlett. Although I was moved, it was only a fleeting feeling. But I am loyal to love. Even though my wife betrayed me, I am still loyal to my love and wouldn't have any improper thoughts. But later, I found that she gradually lost those feelings for me. You have to believe how a person is when they like you, and how they are when they don't like you. It's very easy to distinguish. Ryan Asher's words plunged Ethan into silence. He didn't know if it was true or not, but he always felt it was different from what he had seen. Then Ethan wanted to say something, but didn't. Ryan Asher understood instantly. But she still treats me differently, right? Ethan nodded blankly. This was also what he didn't understand. If it wasn't love, why did every action seem to convey love? Ryan Asher pondered for a moment before offering an explanation. It's probably habit, right? Perhaps she got used to liking me, so she subconsciously still makes some of her old gestures. But this affection and this habit will slowly dissipate. Especially this time, when she found out you left for the first time, the light in her eyes was gone. You didn't see how desperate she was then. Ethan Miller, you may not believe it, but I have to tell you, Scarlett Fisher has truly fallen in love with you. Boom! This sentence was like a thunderbolt from a clear sky, stunning Ethan so much that he couldn't recover for a long time. What a joke. How could she possibly like him? This was something he couldn't believe. All right, I'm telling you these things, not to pressure you or anything, but I think you have the right to know. She and I have also made things clear long ago. We are still friends. I'm not someone who interferes in other people's marriages. In fact, I'm even more disillusioned with marriage than you are. Never mind that Scarlett stopped loving me long ago. Even if she did love me, I probably wouldn't feel anything. I know what it feels like to love someone and be disappointed. Ryan Asher said this with a smile, but Ethan knew he was in great pain. Compared to his own pain, Ryan's was only greater. He had only been delayed for 2 years by a woman who didn't love him. But Ryan, he had been betrayed by the woman he loved, cuckolded. From this perspective, Scarlett at least hadn't wronged Ethan. Ryan, I'm sorry. I've worried you, and because of us, I've brought up your painful memories. Ethan was full of apology, but Ryan Asher shook his head vigorously, looking at Ethan very seriously. You don't need to apologize to me, nor do you need to feel embarrassed. What I said was actually to tell you. Learn from my example. It's not easy to meet the right person. If you two can start over because of this, wouldn't that be a good thing? Don't end up like me with no way back. Ethan was stunned. Only then did he understand what Ryan Asher wanted to tell him. To sum it up in one sentence, cherish the person in front of you. Ethan took a deep breath. After careful consideration, he still shook his head. He was not a reckless person, nor was he someone who made decisions on impulse. As an agent, his mind had always been very calm. Whether facing work or life, he was extremely calm. If he weren't calm, he wouldn't have indulged Scarlett time and time again, nor would he have repeatedly given in when she proposed their so-called secret marriage. It was precisely because of this calmness that he made his current decision. Ryan, thank you for telling me so much. But what I want to say is, actually, like you, I don't hold out much hope for marriage either. And the issues between Scarlett and me are not just because of you, but because of many smaller things in life. You know, it's not the last straw that breaks the camel's back, but every single straw. We've reached this point, and we both bear responsibility. Adults should be responsible for their actions. I'm willing to take responsibility, so I chose to leave. Whether she ends up with you or not, I will leave. This is something I decided long ago. Ethan showed no hesitation. Even after knowing these things, he still made the same choice. Just as he said, the issues between him and Scarlett were never just about feelings. It was more about the details of life. They weren't compatible. There was no need to be together. Ryan Asher stared blankly at Ethan, not expecting him to be even more clear-sighted than himself. But he still wanted to try, still wanted to fight for Scarlett, and for Ethan himself. Ryan, say no more. I already feel bad enough for dragging you into this. I've long since moved on from this marriage. The person involved, I'm already trying to get out of it. You, an outsider, have even less need to be distracted by it. Marriage is beautiful, but not all marriages are beautiful. You are, and so am I. Since we've experienced it, let's both let it go. Perhaps in the future, we'll have better marriages. Or perhaps not. But what I want to say is, live well in the present. Live well in the future for yourself. Ethan patted Ryan Asher's shoulder, said this, and then got up and left. Ryan Asher took a long time to recover from these words. He had also been struggling in this marriage for a long time. His wife's betrayal made it difficult for him to move on. Thinking about it now, Ethan was right. The future is unknown. Today is dead. Tomorrow is a new beginning. If you keep clinging to these things, what's the difference between today and tomorrow? How can life begin again? He smiled, a smile of relief. But then he turned his head and looked at Scarlett, who was standing not far away, wearing a heavy coat and a hat, completely bundled up. He sighed. He hesitated for a moment, then walked over and sat down in front of Scarlett. She had heard their entire conversation. Every single word. Scarlett, are you okay? After Ryan Asher spoke with concern, Scarlett lifted her head. Her eyes were already red, and 2 tear tracks, still wet, stained her cheeks. Sigh. Ryan Asher sighed. He knew how heartbroken Scarlett was. This kind of heartbreak would likely be very difficult to overcome. I won't say anything more. Scarlett, do you want to give up on him now? Twice. This was the second time she had heard such heartless words from Ethan. Scarlett was naturally in immense pain, but she was only heartbroken. More than that, she ached for Ethan. He once loved her so much. For him to say such things now, it showed how much damage she had caused him. Give up? How could she? She was the main culprit. How could she just walk away? The harm she brought to Ethan, she had to make up for it. In her own way. If he wanted to leave, she would chase after him, not just to make amends, but also to ensure she had no regrets. Ryan, I won't give up. His departure is my punishment, a punishment for my 5 years of neglecting him. I accept this punishment. I deserve it. But I can't give up. I know how much he once loved me. I'm a greedy person. I don't want that love to just vanish into thin air, even if the process is incredibly difficult. But I will persevere. No matter the outcome, I have to try. Just like his 99 confessions to me back then, I can do it too. The pain I once caused him, I want him to feel it too, to know that I love him and that I now know how to love him. Scarlett spoke firmly, every sentence, every word, so resolute. Ryan Asher smiled, a very happy smile. This way, I can rest assured. It's just, you two are both stubborn people. This head-on collision, I really don't know how it will turn out. Scarlett snorted. When I win him back, I'll make him say he loves me every day. I'll make him tell me that marrying me, no, remarrying me, is the happiest thing in his life. Look at him just now, he made me so angry. Scarlett waved her small, delicate fist, grinding her teeth. She also swore in her heart. Ethan Miller, just you wait and see. Sooner or later, this girl will make you change your mind, make you realize how much I love you, make you fall head over heels in love, make your eyes full of only me, and also let you know that the love you gave me, I have learned, and in the future, I will love you even more. Ethan, of course, did not hear Scarlett's vow. His current task was to organize all his belongings and continue his travels. This house was his new place when he had just bought. He hadn't had time to furnish it, but he could take care of that when he returned. Buzz, a message came through on his phone. It was from Scarlett. Free, let's grab a bite. Ethan frowned when he saw the message. He naturally didn't want to eat with her. Since they were already divorced, they should separate, and there was no need to stay in contact. However, he had only occasionally replied to the messages she had sent him during this period. He hoped that by creating such distance, he could slowly reduce the connection between them. But he didn't expect it to have much effect. What? Can't even have a meal together. Ethan Miller, are you being too petty? Even if we're divorced, even if we can't be friends, can't we just have one meal? Or are you afraid of me? His phone vibrated again, one message after another arriving. Ethan, helpless, could only agree to meet. Similarly, he also wanted to use this opportunity to make things completely clear with her. Divorced means divorced. Whatever feelings there were, they should have drawn a full stop. And he didn't want to have any relationship with Scarlett anymore. The familiar upscale restaurant, the familiar seats, pulled Ethan's memories back to the past. This was where they often ate. It was also where he first confessed his feelings. He still remembered, at that time, holding a bouquet of roses, having booked a booth, nervously looking at Scarlett sitting across from him. He stammered for a long time before finally blurting out his confession. But what he received was only Scarlett's rejection. Because of this, he was heartbroken for a long time. But like an unkillable cockroach, he stood up again, resolutely pursuing that love that didn't belong to him. Returning to this old place, Ethan was overcome with emotion, marveling at his own courage 5 years ago. But he also marveled at the present. Who would have thought that 5 years later, they would not only have been together, but also become husband and wife, and finally, ex-husband and ex-wife. Fate plays tricks. Some things are truly inexplicable. Do you still remember this restaurant? Scarlett's beautiful eyes twinkled with an unusual light. She had ordered a table full of their old favorite dishes. The food hadn't changed. The booth hadn't changed. Even the roses hadn't changed. What had changed was the two of them. I remember. How could Ethan forget the place where he first confessed his feelings? Good that you remember. I said I was going to pursue you, so could you please be like me back then? Scarlett smiled as she spoke, her words making Ethan even more confused. What did she mean be like her? Don't understand. Back then, even though I rejected you, I never ignored you. But you right now, you're being too much. If I had been like you are now, would you have been able to pursue me for 3 years? Scarlett's words were not wrong. By the way, can I ask you something? Back then, did you ever feel like I was stringing you along? Scarlett really wanted to know the answer, because in her heart, she had never intended to play with Ethan's feelings. She just couldn't reciprocate, but she didn't dislike this boy who had confessed to her. No, Ethan's answer was the same as the one she had hoped for in her heart. That's good. Let's eat. Scarlett breathed a sigh of relief. At least he wouldn't think she was someone who trifled with emotions. Ethan couldn't eat. To be precise, given their current status, he couldn't stomach it. Scarlett Fisher, we're divorced. Although pursuing me is your right. But I can't be as composed as you were. On the contrary, your pursuit of me is causing me a lot of pain. So, let's just end it. After 5 years, we know each other too well. And there's no possibility of us getting back together. Ethan wanted to dissuade her, whether she loved him or not. What's past is past. The future is long, and he didn't want to remain mired in this protracted entanglement. Scarlett's expression faltered, but then she smiled. That's my business. What you do, I don't care. What I do, you don't need to care either. Scarlett's stubbornness moved Ethan slightly. This stubbornness was something he had never experienced from her. But this affection, he didn't want to respond to it anymore. 2 years of marriage, looking back, it was all ruins. That was the most painful part. Perhaps the saying, once bitten by a snake, twice shy of a rope applied here. He didn't dare to respond to Scarlett's feelings. Ultimately, he was still afraid. After finishing the meal, neither of them spoke much. As if they were strangers meeting for the first time, not knowing what to talk about. Or like an old married couple, needing no words. After eating, Ethan left. Scarlett watched him leave, took a deep breath, the heavy stone in her heart still weighing her down. On the contrary, it felt heavier, more uncomfortable. Is this what it feels like to be ignored? Is this what he felt from me? It really is. Suffocating. Scarlett's eyes reddened. Watching his departing figure, her heart ached even more. Why didn't she realize it sooner? Why did she hurt this man who loved her so deeply? What on earth was she thinking? But she firmly believed that their fate was not yet over. Returning home, Ethan's heart was heavy. He thought about it over and over and decided it was best to leave this place as soon as possible. So, his first instinct was still to book a flight. Once he left, he wouldn't have to see her. That way, he wouldn't have to endure this suffering, and he could slowly end this entanglement that should never have existed. But he didn't know that just as he booked his flight, Scarlett received the news. She said nothing, but the next day, she directly held a press conference. I have an announcement to make. I will be temporarily leaving the entertainment industry. As for when I'll return, I don't know. The reporters below were all stunned. Even Ryan Asher couldn't believe it. Miss Fisher, you were just nominated for a major film award. You're at the peak of your career. Why are you taking a hiatus? Exactly. Miss Fisher, can you tell us why you're leaving the entertainment industry? Is it due to health reasons? All the reporters couldn't understand what reason would make a rising star leave the entertainment industry. Keep in mind, a celebrity's popularity can be fleeting. Tomorrow, someone else could easily replace Scarlett Fisher. My health is fine. Please don't worry. The reason I'm leaving is because I want to do something more important than work, more important than my career. The reporters were even more bewildered. What could be more important than work? In their eyes, apart from life and death, There was probably nothing more important than making money. But for Scarlett Fisher, Ethan Miller was more important than work. Miss Fisher, can we ask what it is? They pressed on. Scarlett looked at the camera and smiled faintly. It's the happiness of the rest of my life. If I lose it, I will live in regret for the rest of my life. I will never be able to forgive myself. This smile moved everyone present. Ryan Asher smiled. He looked at Scarlett encouragingly and applauded softly, pleased by her persistence. And on the other end of the phone, Ethan, who was having a meal, also saw this scene. Scarlett Fisher, as a popular and most promising star, suddenly bidding farewell to the entertainment industry, was definitely breaking news. Ethan had never thought Scarlett would go this far. Could it be? For him, he couldn't believe this woman would actually do this. She had really fallen in love with him. How could that be? But before he had time to think, his phone rang. It was Scarlett. Send me your location. I'm coming to find you. How could Ethan dare to send it to her? Right now, he didn't want to face her at all. But then, Ryan Asher's call came through as well. Ethan, my friend, Scarlett has quit. I think she did it for you. So, what I said the other day, you should really think about it again. For you, and for her, how you will live your lives in the future. Consider it seriously, don't treat it lightly. Ethan had never treated it lightly. Divorce was something he had confirmed long ago, and he had thought about it countless times in his mind. He just hadn't expected things to turn out this way. After a long pause, he couldn't help but call Scarlett. What? Afraid I won't see your messages, so you have to call and tell me your location? Go ahead, I'm listening. Scarlett put the call on speakerphone and started packing her luggage. Ethan sighed. After a long while, he finally spoke. Scarlett Fisher, you shouldn't have quit, and you definitely shouldn't take a hiatus from acting. For you, this is a huge loss. Scarlett, however, didn't think so. Whether it's a loss or not, I know in my heart. Most importantly, I know what I want. Ethan understood that this sentence was about him, but he still had to make things clear to her. But we're really divorced. We can't go back. Scarlett was already immune to these words, because he had said them too many times recently. Even if it was like rubbing salt in a wound, she could endure it. I know, but I want to ask you a question. Did you divorce me because of Ryan Asher? Scarlett still wanted to know, yes or no. Ethan hesitated for a moment before giving an answer. It's related, but not entirely. Our relationship had too many problems. Even if I could tolerate it now, I probably wouldn't be able to in the future. Even if I knew you didn't like Ryan Asher, it's still likely we would have divorced. Ultimately, this marriage was a mistake from the start. We're simply not suited for each other. I don't know if you can understand what I'm saying. Scarlett also gave a response. I understand. Because before it was you who loved me, tolerated me, cherished me, indulged me, and put up with me. So for you, marriage was torture, it was hell. I also know that patience has a limit. Endless consumption eventually leads to zero. My regret is not realizing it sooner, before your patience with me ran out. I regret even more taking your tolerance, care, indulgence, and forbearance for granted. Ethan Miller, I know my mistakes. But I can tell you clearly, what we had before, that wasn't marriage. True marriage is about mutual effort. I will show you, through my actions, what our marriage should be like. Ethan didn't know how to explain it to her. Hearing her words, he didn't know how to refute them either. He was very confused right now, his mind not clear enough. In the end, all he could say was the same sentence, over and over. We're divorced. We are not compatible. Scarlett smiled. If he had nothing else to say, it meant she had achieved a partial victory. But she also knew that this kind of torment was painful for both her and Ethan. So, she decided to make a big gamble. Ethan Miller, let's make a bet, okay? Ethan was not a gambling man, but hearing Scarlett's words, he was still interested. Go on. Scarlett pondered for a moment, then spoke with unprecedented confidence. 1 month. I bet we will meet again. If I lose, we'll never see each other again for the rest of our lives. If I win, you have to give me a chance to pursue you. Don't run away. Let's start over. Do you dare? A huge gamble. It was indeed crazy. But Ethan believed that the world was so big, if he wanted to hide from her, he could manage it. Her chances of winning this bet were very small. This was harder than finding a needle in a haystack. You're bound to lose. Ethan couldn't imagine why Scarlett dared to make such a bet. Her chances of winning were clearly slim. This was harder than finding a needle in a haystack. No, I won't. I firmly believe we will meet again. Scarlett, however, spoke with certainty, very sure. I want to know why. Ethan didn't understand why she had such confidence. Had she put a tracker on him? But he had a new phone. How could she track him? Even if she could find his location, it would take a lot of effort. It was very possible that by the time she arrived, he would already be gone. As long as he didn't want to lose and kept moving, she could never win. It's simple. I believe in fate. It will let us meet again. I also believe that our connection isn't broken, because I still love you. Scarlett completely pinned her hopes on fate. Ethan also wanted to see how fate would choose. Okay, I'll take that bet. Ethan agreed. He didn't know why, but his dormant heart once again rippled. If such a coincidence really existed in this world, then it meant their fate was not yet over. What if he gave her a chance? Ethan Miller, I was just kidding. I never believe in fate, nor do I believe that fate will let us meet again. What I'm betting on is my understanding of you over these past 2 years. Although, you may not believe what I'm about to say, but I want to tell you, you've long since become a part of my life. Even if I don't pay attention, don't focus on it. I still understand you, and I will find you through this understanding. You'll have nowhere to run. Scarlett hung up the phone first, a confident smile playing on her lips. On the other end of the line, Ethan was indeed lost in confusion. Understanding? How could she possibly understand him? She didn't even know his preferences, not even his favorite tastes, colors, and so on. She knew none of it. Why was she so sure she would win? However, he also wanted to see how Scarlett would find him through her understanding. Putting down his phone, Ethan didn't think about it anymore. And since the bet, Scarlett seemed to have vanished from the face of the earth. He had no news of her, and he was still on the road, still living his solo journey. Days passed like this, one by one. Soon, a week disappeared. He hadn't seen Scarlett, but for some reason, the fluttering in his heart grew stronger. Another week passed. He still hadn't seen Scarlett. While feeling a sense of relief, he also felt a pang of sadness. Perhaps she was really going to lose. But this was her choice, and his choice too. Half a month left, then it would be completely over. She wouldn't pester him anymore. The journey continued. Days flowed by like the wind, quietly. Ethan gradually began to view it with a calm mind. Although when he first heard the bet, he was somewhat incredulous, even a little moved. But he wouldn't be now, because he knew Scarlett would definitely lose. Actually, Scarlett herself couldn't be sure she would win. During this time, she had also traveled to many places, but she still believed in her judgment, believed that fate would be on her side. As the days passed, she grew more and more nervous. Finally, the last day arrived. After midnight, she would lose. But she believed that today, she would win. She had a premonition and bought a train ticket, settling into her seat. This train was heading north. At this time of year, it was snowing in the north. Ethan loved heavy snow. She had noticed this once during a film shoot, when Ethan was alone, building a snowman, his eyes filled with joy. She placed her final bet on this northern snow season. Time ticked by, second by second. Finally, the train reached a certain station and stopped. A figure boarded and sat down beside Scarlett. She subconsciously took out her earbuds, preparing to listen to music and enjoy the journey. A small hand offered her an earbud. Instrumental. Your favorite. Ethan's eyes widened. He whipped his head around. What he saw was a beautiful face, her eyes already wet with tears, yet wearing a smile of profound relief. End of novel.